guys, my name is Shane from ISC Suspension North America, and today we'll be installing these ISC N1 coilovers on my 2011 GTI. Some awesome features about these coilovers: the N1s come standard with our camber plate and a pillow ball bearing to prevent spring bind. I opted for our Triple S upgraded springs to give me a little bit better ride and a little bit better control on the track. For this year, I'd like to focus on turning it into more of a track car, do some autocross with it, maybe some time trials, or just open track days with it. All of our coilover kits, when applicable, will come with these sway bar end links when needed. They'll all come with these spanner tools. You got a small one and a big one to adjust your collars and your ride height. It'll also come with grease for your pillow ball bearing, as well as anti-seize for the threads. Our coilovers offer monotube construction design. They'll come with 32-way adjustable dampers. They'll come with these little clickers you just stick right on the top to adjust. These are our upgraded Triple S springs. They're going to give me a little bit better control on the track, a little bit better ride quality, and they're going to lighten up the suspension just a little bit as well. From stock, these coilovers are going to give us about a 3-inch adjustable range. On this car, it might be 1/4 inch above stock to -0.275 below stock. We're just going to have to wait and find out. Our coilovers come with 3 different damper options: comfort, street, and track. The comforts and streets have different valving inside the dampers. They'll come with the same spring rates. The tracks have kind of completely different valving inside, and then those will come with their own separate upgraded spring rates. Once you have your anti-seize on your threads, next step will be to preload the spring. Start with your spring perch loose, so your spring has some free play in it. Go ahead and spin that down until your spring no longer has free play. What you want to do is spin this smaller collar down until it's just about touching, and now we can start setting up our preload. So we're going to want about a 5mm preload on our spring, which is kind of about the same width as our spanner here. So I'm just going to go ahead, grab the shock body so it doesn't move, and just spin this down. Spin it down so that you can fit this right inside. That's about 5mm. Spin that down so it touches. Then you can go ahead and lock them together. So now let's get into some helpful tips and tricks to install this kit on a Mk6 GTI. So first step, once you have the car in the air with the wheel off, you're going to have to go ahead and take off the ABS sensor and disconnect the brake line from the bracket. Wiggle that out, grab the clip, and that should pop right out of there for you. Next we'll take this bracket off. It'll be a 10mm. Just like that, comes out. In order to spread the knuckle and to slide the strut out of its home, we're going to need a M14 triple square and an 18mm socket. Just undo this bolt right here. Just slide right out. To spread this knuckle open, you're going to need to get a strut spreader tool and go ahead and insert that in the back of the knuckle in the slot. Rotate it 90 degrees so there's a nice opening. I think that spreads. There we go. To allow proper sag with the axle out, you're going to have to undo the ball joint, and it's 3 16mm nuts. You can blast them off with an impact. After we have everything disconnected, your strut spreader in, sway bar disconnected, your lines free and clear, the next step is going to be remove the axle nut. This is going to allow some droop to the suspension so we can pull this out and have some clearance. With this all swung out of the way, you should be able to just slide this right out with your spreader in there. It might help if you have a friend, so this thing kind of stays in place. There we go. And out she comes. Once you have your new coilover ready to be put in, first highly recommend putting on some anti-seize for the knuckle just so it doesn't get stuck in there. Clean any kind of debris out of the knuckle opening so it has a nice easy fit into the knuckle there. I put the coilover down as short as it will go just to make it all nice and easy to put in, and we can adjust ride height after. Should be able to just put it up. And drop it in. There's a locator tab in the back that'll slide right into the slot there, and you'll hear a very definitive clunk. So once this is fully seated, this is kind of where it's good to have a buddy handy with you. We're going to go ahead and lower this a little bit and line up the axle before we connect it up top. Once your axle is fully seated into the hub again, you can go ahead, reconnect your tie rod, throw your axle bolt back in. If your axle isn't fully seated before you do this, just make sure the splines are lined up, and you can slowly tighten that with an impact. And that should be it. Next step will be to reconnect the 3 ball joint bolts at the bottom. Alright, so once the studs are back in here, just go ahead, put your impact on like a low setting if you can, and you can buzz these on. Then also do your 18mm tie rod nut on the bottom as well. One of the final steps is going to be matching the other side that we've already done height-wise. So on the other side we have about 1 7/8 inches of threads showing. So we'll take a measurement real quick of what we have here. A little over 1.5 inches there. What we can do, raise this up, and we can raise the coilover out of the bottom mount with the wrench, or you can usually do it by hand as well. Take another measurement. About right on the money there, 1 7/8 inches. Go ahead, grab your small spanner, and go ahead and snug that down. You should be all set. And to finish it off, go ahead and bolt in the new sway bar end link. Alright, now it's time to do the rear. As you can see, we have the separate spring and shock combination on this car. So first step we want to do is take out this lower bolt that holds the spring bucket to the car, and we can remove the rear spring. It'll be 2 18mm. We have the jack supporting the spring bucket. Now with the bolt removed, we can go ahead and lower this down. The spring might be under a little bit of pressure. Now with the spring bucket lowered, you can go ahead, drop this down, and just take out your old spring. Now that the spring's out of the way, you can go ahead and grab an impact or a big wrench. It's a 21mm for the shock bolt, and it should just come right out. So this particular step isn't necessarily required. It's going to be easier to show you guys what's going on. It's going to give me a good chance to also clean out any kind of dirt and debris that's in this fender liner, but I'm going to go ahead and remove this fender liner to easily access the top bolts. Now that you have your spring out and your shock bolt out, go ahead and undo your top shock mounting hardware. Be two 17mm bolts. After the shock is out, you're going to need to take this 16mm nut off. Sometimes you can get lucky with an impact. Other times, if you have like a box wrench and some pliers, you're going to need to hold this middle part as it spins independently of the nut. We're going to go ahead and try it with an impact. And once you have it off, go ahead and install it onto the new shock. It just goes right on top on that spacer. Grab your new 17mm nut. Should have a definite stop if you're using a small impact, so you don't have to go too far with it. And just like that, it's installed. Alright, so now we just do everything pretty much in reverse order. A little bit different because we're going to have to set some preload and our spring will be adjustable. So go ahead, grab your rear spring, grab your rear perch, make sure you have your isolator on here to protect your spring, and the adjuster will be going on the top on this car. It'll also come with these two rubber pads. This rubber isolator here, this very round one, will go on the bottom of the spring under there. And this one with a slight cone shape will be fitted right to there. And it'll be fitted right on the nub, right in there. Plop it in here. And just like that, it should rest right on the nub. Now we can go ahead and install our bolt. So with this set to an arbitrary height, it's going to be kind of a guess and check to see where you need the car to sit. Just kind of have it low enough to where you can reach down with your hand, the nub, and you can put it in the bolt by hand. Okay, now that your spring is in here with whatever ride height you selected to start out with, make sure there's just a little bit of wiggle room in here, and we're going to set preload. So how to do this on this car is a little different than the rear, the fronts on a lot of other cars, just because it is independent of each other. We're looking for 5 to 10mm of preload on this spring. The next step, once the spring is in here with a little bit of wiggle room, go ahead and grab a floor jack, and we can jack the spring bucket up and take some measurements of preload. So I have my jack under here with the spring compressed just a little bit. I'm measuring from the bottom of the spring to the top. This is a 180mm spring, so we're looking anywhere from 170 to 175 millimeters overall length with it compressed. Right now it's approximately 6.75 inches, which translates to about 171mm. So we got 9mm of preload, which is good. Also, after you set your preload, don't forget to tighten this 4mm set screw right in here, just so you have no chances of this spinning and changing while you drive. Next, we can put in our shock. Doesn't matter necessarily where that bottom mount is, as we're going to change it in a second. The bottom mount is lower than the mount on the knuckle, so what we're going to need to do is loosen this collar and spin this up until it matches this. And go ahead and grab your bolt, snake it behind there, and start threading it in. Okay. The last thing to do is going to be secure this collar here. So spin it all the way down until it touches. Grab your spanner tool. Alright, that is it. Now you can go ahead and lower the jack.